Hello, YouTube. ZiggyNo back with my 2021 sports card collectible forecast. These are my observations and my opinions from ZiggyNo Sports Cards Daily. Just to give you a little background, what you're going to expect. I'm going to go over kind of state of the hobby. What do we see right now? I'm going to warn you of what to look for, like kind of the canary in the cave, signs that you could see that things are changing. And I'm going to give you my opinion on where I think things are going and what the state is. If you haven't already, please take a moment, subscribe, hit the bell, and whistle back your comments. Love to hear. I did a forecast about 6 months ago. I'm planning to try to do this every 3 to 6 months. Maybe I'll do next one in 3 months. Again, these are my thoughts, my comments. I'm trying to make this short, sweet, and to the point. So hang in there. State of the hobby. Here's some things that I've observed. Basketball and football prices, specifically the retail hobby box prices, are 2, 3, 4 times what they used to be. What I'm referring to is that if I'm talking hobby, not retail, I know it says retail prices, but this is the retail suggested hobby price of the product. Example, Prism in 2018 was roughly 250 bucks a box, which was up from about 120 the previous year. In 2019, because of Zion Williams, it was 360 to $400 a box, which was crazy because I spent 250 bucks a year before. Well, now you go to LaMelo Ball's year and you go from $400 suggested retail price after release to $1,800, $1,500, $2,000. That is, between 3 to 5x increase on the retail suggested price of a hobby product. That is huge. You're only seeing that in the Panini sports world, by the way. See me with the football products where Prism basketball used to be a couple $100, now it's $1,000 box. Panini is the worst offender of this marketing and this style of pricing. Topps prices are up, so are upper decks. Everybody's prices have increased. But Panini's definitely, they're Dutch auctioning as much as they can. Product releases are still adjusting to COVID. What I mean by that, there are a lot more products coming out that are condensed in a short period of time. So they're just shoving so many products at you that you're kind of overwhelmed. And what I've noticed as you see this, there are less value in those products. There are less autographs. There are less on-card autographs. There are less relics. And there are less tangible items of the hobby. More and more refractors, shiny inserts. That's why when you open up these select and Prism boxes, it's, oh, this stuff's sick, it's loaded, look at all the color, look at all the shine. Guys, that's not really value, that's fake value, that's fake gold. It had value, its value will decrease as it becomes more and more. It's a quantity thing, but you're seeing less of the real product value. That's just my view of state of the hobby. Next thing, grading prices increase. Look, I know there's new AI, there's color slabs, there's options. PSA is still elite. They're available. $300. That brand, they're basically the Yazzies or Yazzies of the sneaker world right now. And the increasing though prices across the board. Even the new guys who are coming to the market, their best price is $20 a card, right? I used to grade cards at under $10 a card. So that increase on grading prices, the increase on product prices make the return on buying, ripping, selling, flipping much smaller. And that's a huge impact. Those two factors are what are driving the decline in the market more than anything else, in my opinion. Okay, increase in taxes and fees. ComC, StarStock increased their fees, their processing fees. IRS is watching what you're doing now. There's more attention on the taxes of smaller transactions. That's going to influence the way people are doing business. Status of sports. Sports have a very big impact on this. We have the Olympics coming up, but I don't know if people are really as hyped about it as it used to be. It's not as big of an event because of COVID right now. We're in regular playoff season mode right now. We have hockey and basketball around the corner. Baseball just kicked off and football is in draft zone mode, which means we're getting back to norm. It's not like last year. We had the condensed calendars and we had overlaps and we had a drought. The status of sports are returning to norm. As sports return to norm, I think the hobby will as well, which means pre-COVID activities. 12 months later, okay, 12 months ago, we were locked up. People were coming to the hobby. They didn't have else to do. 12 months now, we have a vaccinated public. People are getting out. They are educated, whether it's through experience or actually listening to people who know what the hell they're doing instead of people who don't. They know more than they did yesterday. Okay, the same group of people who are collecting, buying, and selling today are not the uneducated people from last year who thought the first cards of a Prism with the guys in New Jersey was a really valuable card. Okay, that was a passing trend. I also think there's more distractions 12 months later, right? We know there are because there's things that are open that aren't open before, right? You can go out, you can travel, there's more options, there's more things you spend your money on, there's distractions like NFTs. Attention span of youth is short. Many of the people who've come to the hobby in the last year were young, under 25, or I'd say the 25 to 30 area and under. that group will lose attention as things change, right? If you're a 19-year-old boy and you're flipping Prism because of a lot of money last year because you couldn't go to school, this year you're in school and there's a pretty girl. Well, that's going to change your attention span. Also, there's a lot of other things. NFTs, whether you like them or not, they're everywhere and they're taking dollars away from the sports card market, just as gambling is. These are things that I'm seeing, no magic, no special, capability required. I want to bring a quote up to your attention that I came up with the other day. I was watching a channel that I actually loathe because it's one of the biggest hype BS channels in the hobby. I won't say who they are, but they were talking about the bubble. And they kept referring to the bubble. And they gave these examples of bubble cards. And they kept, basically reassuring you this isn't a bubble. And they talked about the true value is in goats and all this, to me, I'll leave it at this. Asking people who make a living on sports cards if sports cards are overpriced is like asking your meth dealer if meth is bad for you. Think about that for a while, okay? In other words, if you're in the sports card world, you ask your sports cards friends who are making their living off of it, if they think it's overvalued, they're going to tell you no, because it's their freaking living, man. Okay, and maybe it's not necessarily they're doing it to deceive you, but that's like asking your meth dealer, dude, is this bad for me? He's going to tell you, no, man, you're a functioning meth head. You're doing fine. You're not like everybody else who loses their teeth. As long as you brush and floss every day, you can keep using meth. Guys, pay attention to what's going on out there. That's why I try to give you unbiased opinions and thoughts. Let me move on now. Okay, canaries in the cave. I'm trying to make this short. This is a long topic. Things you should look for that are signs of changes to come. Declining prices is an obvious one. As we see higher pop counts, we see more and more cards come back. Like if anything, if PSA gets caught up, which I doubt they will, but if they drop 1 million or more cards in the next 3 months, guess what? Prices are going to decline. We should not be surprised about that. That's one of those things you learned back in economics class. Retail chasers. When you stop seeing retail chasers, when you're not complaining about all the flippers, there's a good reason. That means there's no value in those retail products. Beware. I don't expect that to happen anytime soon, though. I think the retail market will continue to stay hot through most of this year until one of the later factors comes in. I'll explain that to you. Fractional ownership, I think, is another one to keep your eye on. I use a couple of these. Most of my fractional ownership investments are down. They're not making money. I am kind of skeptical on the whole fractional. I like to use it before I bitch about it. I'll give you more on that later on, but watch fractionals. When they're not very popular, when they're not, everybody's talking about them, you're going to start wondering why. Same thing with big auctions. I know the auction houses are, having records in the first quarter and everybody's talking auctions, the biggest auctions and so forth. Those start stopping. If those slow down and they start dipping, beware. As an example, Top Shot did an auction where one of their moments went for $200,000. Well, their next big moments that Top Shot's coming out, they're not going to release those in packs. They're going to auction those. I want you to think about that. That's kind of price fixing the market, right? They're only going to let big buyers into those moments. So they're basically going to keep that market inflated. That kind of bugs me. Like that takes the value if I can't find it in a pack. It's like if Panini took all the 101s out and put them on an auction and they weren't available on the products. I don't know. So watch for that. There's a lot of big auctions are just getting your attention, man. Sports card shows. I'm a big fan of sports card shows. Now, anticipation for the Nationals are building up. Everybody can't wait for National. It's going to be great. But what if it doesn't happen? And why do we need the National, right? There's a lot of regional shows. There's lots of these. Dallas is pretty big. The only thing the National has that I like is the manufacturers. I wish the manufacturers would take a more active role, maybe participating in some regional shows. But my point there is there are a lot of shows. And one thing I'm hearing back from some people in the shows is that there's more sellers at these shows than there are buyers. Okay. That's another thing to watch for in the cave, in the canary, right? If he dies, it's because there's more sellers than there are buyers. And I'll tell you, I understand that. Product discounts. This is one you watch for. When products start getting discounted, that's when you're going to start seeing retail drop off, right? As an example, in 2018, before Luka had his huge game, he was still a hot rookie, but Hoops was a product that no one wanted. It sat around on the retail shelves. It sat around the hobby boxes. They were giving it away for like $30 or $40 a hobby box in Hoops. And then we had COVID. And we had somebody come out and tell you that Hoops is a great rookie card because they can't get a Prism card. So everybody ran to the Hoops cards, and Hoops cards took off like crazy. If you look at those Hoops cards, I don't think the Hoops cards will ever hit those highs again. I just don't. I could be wrong. I have many of them, but I just don't see it. Because again, I look at something like print runs. Hoops probably has 50 to 100,000 cards per or print run per card in that year. And that's a wild ass guess. I can give you some logic behind it. But if you think about that, there's no way there's that many Lukas worth that much money out there, right? Same thing with a lot of the other products, just really were overprinted. And we're going to see that as we go further in. Okay, my opinion only. I'm going to summarize this real quickly. In my opinion, GOATs today are overpriced for the long term. I watched a video from Sports Card Anonymous. He actually talked about this, and I have to 100% agree. I would not buy a Jordan. I wouldn't buy a Luka. And Luka's not a GOAT, by the way. But I wouldn't buy these high-valued cards that everybody else is buying at the auctions. I would stay away. I just would. I don't see them continuing that growth factor. I'd rather find a diamond in the rough. As someone else said, I'd rather do the regular grind, buy a card for $1 and sell it for $1.20 and get a 20% return. I'm afraid the GOATs are just overtalked, because I think, first of all, people who don't know anything about the hobby talk about GOATs. Think about that. If you don't know what's really going on, it's easy to talk about GOATs. And what is a GOAT? Greatest of all time. Anyway, I would hold on to numbered card, relics cards, and auto cards. If you're in this for the long, you're looking for the play, those are the cards I'd buy. And I wouldn't buy them just everybody. I'd buy them in those elite players, but those are the ones you want. Numbered cards, relics, and auto cards. And it also stay with rookies only. Don't buy non-rookie cards. I just don't do that. Everything else in my opinion is crap, guys. Sorry. Manufacturers are in a money grab mode for a reason. That's my opinion, but it's probably a fact. And that fact is they all know this hobby. Many of them have been here for 20 years. They've never seen a time like this before. They'll tell you, I've never seen a time like this before. And what are they doing? They are cashing out, and they're justifying on, man, I grinded for years. I deserve this. It's about time. So they're going to tell you this is only the beginning, that everything's great, but they're cashing in for a reason. If Panini cared about the hobby, they would take more steps to preserve the growth than they are to exploit the opportunity, right? They could protect suggested retail price. They could enforce some distribution controls. It's not what they're in business for. They're not here to protect the hobby. Grading PSA will hold its value for the next 12 months unless there's a disruptive move. And to me, disruptive is not another grading company unless that grading company is a big one. And I'm talking like a Google Ventures, Amazon, Microsoft. Somebody really gets this and says, look, I'm changing the game. That would be interesting. But I don't think that's going to happen. So I think PSA is actually going to do really well and continue to be the graded class for the elite. Another one of my opinions. Anyone can do anything in sports cards. Anyone can grade cards. Anyone can slab a card. Anyone can be a breaker. Anyone can flip. These things are facts. And I'm not surprised. It's Wild West, right? And it's kind of, I think, a natural progression. The grading pressure, seeing everybody grading, I actually think it's great. Because again, I'll say there's a large audience out there who just wants a card in a protected slab with a third-party opinion, so that they can make what they consider a trusted transaction, right? That's it. Again, PSA will hold the premium. Now, next part, fraud and theft will increase, because as I said, anyone can do anything in the hobby, including fraud, including pack ripping, packs, sealing, making fraudulent slabs, waxing cards, trimming cards. All that's still there. It's going to happen even more and more and more. There'll probably be more theft than you've ever seen before. A lot of it is because there's little teeth in this industry. Okay, there's little repercussion. There's more scammers than we want to account for. And again, a lot of these scammers make their livelihood in this world, right? So maybe they started on an angle, they're going to continue working their angle. Last opinion, NFTs and gambling, etc., will take away from the sports card market. Just like last year, all those things were closed to us. So money funneled in. Well, this year there's more opportunities for my dollar. This is personal experience. I have so many dollars to spend. I spent some on NFTs. I can't spend those on sports cards. I also, gambling's back, so I can gamble. Not that I'm a gambler, but I can do other things. I can travel. My kids want to do other activities. There's other collectible things they want. Video games again. So sports cards, in my opinion, as of the recording of this on April 21st, we are in the beginning of the correction. The correction in the market that most future will tell you that not all rookies have value, that only a few elite hold value, and that the real value are in the assets of the hobby, not the assets of the manufacturer. So beware and be ready. Until then, have fun, Happy hunting, happy collecting, happy flipping. Remember, treat people the way you want to be treated. Love your comments, your thoughts, and your feedback. Have a great day. Stay safe and healthy. And again, these are all my opinions.